Hi crafty friends, welcome to today's Assemble This video where we're going to be creating these 4 amazing watercolor cards. I am taking the watercolor panels from part 1 of this series and turning them into 4 lovely cards. I'll be sharing how these cards came to be using die cuts, hot foils, and adhesive transfer foils as well. I'm featuring the July 2022 sentiment kit from Unity Stamp Company with this gorgeous vintage floral branch and then all the beautiful mix of sentiments that you can use from this kit. In part 1 of this series, I did watercolor all of these panels using Caring Brush Marker Pro pens. I hope you will check that out. There's a link in the corner and then also down in the description of this video. What I did is start out by stamping on some watercolor paper using VersaFine Clair ink. The first 2 panels, I just stamped those flowers right in the center. For this panel, I stamped them at an angle in the 2 corners. And then for the final panel, I stamped them one on top of each other for this column. I stamped the bottom one first, created a mask just with some copy paper and placed that over the image. And then I stamped the flowers again right on top, and now I have a kind of a trailing vine of flowers down the side of that card. For the first card, I die cut out that panel with a stitch rectangular die and then just wrapped around this fun burlap string. Just has a nice texture to it that's soft and that matches the craft color of the card base, and then tied a nice size bow. I move that around into position and then grab my sentiment to see where I liked the placement. And I like that, so I'm just going to notch out one end of the sentiment banner with my scissors, and that just creates a sweet little banner. Pop that up onto my card front, and then I also popped up the sentiment on the front as well. I just really like the craft of the card base behind this panel. It really helps that blue to pop. And then just for a little bit of interest and a bit of shine, I added a few clear dewdrops. For card number 2, I again grabbed that craft cardstock and die cut a frame. I'm just going to set that center panel to the side. I won't be using that because I'm going to use the frame to highlight these watercolor flowers. And I'm just going to place that over the top, draw a pencil line around where I want that frame to really highlight those flowers. And then I'm going to do the same on my card base. And this is going to help me line up those 2 panels so I can make sure that my flowers are really in the center of my card. Next, I'm just going to trim around on the outside of those pencil lines. I really want to still see those. And then on my card base, I'm going to grab my ruler and extend out the lines that I already created. This is going to create a grid, and then I'll line up the pencil lines from the grid on the pencil lines that are in my floral panel. And that way I'll know that those flowers are really in the center of my card. There might be an easier way to do this, I'm not really sure, but this is how my brain works, and so that's how it happened. I'm just going to erase that pencil line that's on the floral image because I don't want that to show through the frame. Next, we're just going to add some foam adhesive behind the craft frame. I wanted to create a bit of dimension. It just seemed really interesting to me to have the frame popped up and then we're kind of looking in and looking at those flowers, almost like a picture frame. So I added that adhesive and then I'm just going to pop that up right on my card front. I already know that those flowers are centered perfectly because of all my pencil work. And then I'm just going to gently and carefully lay that frame down so it doesn't end up bending or warping the card front. And then to finish it off, I have my sentiment strip and I'm just going to pop that up on the front of the card as well. For my third card, I die cut that panel down again with a stitched rectangle die. And I'm just going to pop that up with some foam adhesive and put that to the side. I then used a foil plate from Pink Fresh Studio and used some brass hot foil. I had a bit of overfoiling, so I am removing some of that with a sand eraser. And I'll link to a previous video I've done on how I hot foil with my glimmer system. And then I'm just going to pop that up in the center of my card. And I just really like the contrast of that brass foil in the background. It's just nice and subtle, but it's a really nice accent to really make the florals of this watercolor panel really pop. Next, I have my sentiment in a strip, and I'm just going to notch out either side and then pop that up in the bottom of my panel. And then just to kind of bring in the brass color from the background, I added a few sequins to the front of the card. For the final card, I'm using the scallops and stitched rectangles dies from Unity. I have a black mat of the scallops, and then I'm just going to glue my watercolor flowers into the center of that. I pulled out some adhesive transfers from Thermal Web and Unity. I just love these words and sentiments. I'm going to cut out the thanks from this sheet. And then also, I think I'm going to use the thanks so much because I really like the size of the so much. It fits kind of in the bottom of that card, and it won't block the flowers that I have going on in the background. And I'm just going to adhere these transfer foils to some vellum. All you need to do is remove the backing from the acetate words and place them down onto your cardstock or vellum in my case. I place them in a parchment sleeve, and then you run those through your die cutting machine. And you just use your normal sandwich. For me, that is my plates, and then I actually do add a few shims just because my die cutting machine's a little bit looser. And then you remove that from your die cutting machine, remove the acetate word, and you're left behind with a bit of glue. And that glue is what you place your deco foil on top of. And in this one, I'm using some gold glitter from Unity. And then you run that back through your die cutting machine. Again, I still have my shim just because I need that little bit extra pressure. And then once you remove that from the die cutting machine, I just rolled it through once and removed the sheet, and you're left with these gorgeous foil sentiments. I just really love how the coverage you get from these, and it worked wonderfully on this vellum. I'm just going to tear the top half of the vellum and then the bottom right below the sentiment. And then I'm going to trim out the so much word. I'm just going to leave just a slight border around it and just trim that out with my scissors. To adhere this, I'm going to add a little bit of glue adhesive on either side of the vellum. I left some longer tabs so I can wrap that around the panel, and then that will hide the glue. And then I'm going to pop that up on my card front with some foam adhesive, just for a little bit of dimension. And then once that's in place, I'm going to pop up my little so much sentiment with some foam adhesive as well, and right below the things. And here are the finished cards. I really love the look of the craft behind all of these cards. I feel like the blue in this image just really pops, and the sweet element of that bow with the sentiment and the little hints of sparkle from the dewdrops are just perfect. For this card, I really created a frame to really highlight that beautiful purple flowers and then the simple sentiment treatment in the bottom. And then for this one, I really amped up the shine with the hot foil brass background, and then the bringing in the element of brass with the sequins. And finally, we're really creating a lot of glitz and glam with that thanks sentiment with the deco foil adhesive transfer sheets. Please check out part 1 of this series for how I watercolored the floral panels with the Karen Brush Marker Pro pens. I'll have a link to part 1 in the description of this video, plus all the supplies used in today's cards on my Dahlhouse Designs YouTube channel and blog. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Plus, if you have any questions or sweet comment, post below. Thank you again for creating with me. I hope you were inspired, and I'll see you next time. Bye.